So, what we're doing today is we are going through the next 17 of the custom cards that I've created here on PokeCardMaker.net, and just jumping straight into the video to save time, I guess. Alcob is the first Pokemon. It has 60 HP. It's water and steel. It's steel and water type. So primary type is steel, and thus the card is steel type. Squish Squirm ability. If it has any water energy attached to it and would be damaged by an attack, flip a coin. If heads, prevent that damage. Good ability ish. It's good on other Pokemon like the Dragapult that has roughly the same ability, or Whimsicott GX, which has an ability quite the same, or roughly close to it. And then Mercurial Metal, 2 steel, and it does 30 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. That is a pretty good attack, especially since you can stall using Squish Squirm maybe for a few turns and rack up a bit of damage, but it's still overall just a basic Pokemon in a Stage 2 line. Fighting weakness, my bad, and water resistance, fighting weakness because steel is weak to ground and fighting, and resistance to water because steel resists ice and water resists both ice and water. Retreat cost of 1 because it is just a squishy little fish. Why would it be any higher? Next up is Silwale. Silwale is just a bigger Alclob almost, but it is now made of silver. And since this whole evolution line is based off of alchemy, I figured I would take some inspiration from what they would have believed in that time. And so 2 steel and 1 of anything for Supernatural Spear, 50 damage. But if the defending Pokemon is a dark Pokemon, it is knocked out. Then discard top 3 cards of your deck. Silver bullets would have been expensive, or silver anything would have been somewhat expensive, more than likely. And dark Pokemon representing like evil, supernatural, whatever, would have been believed that evil or supernatural creatures were killed with silver. So that is where I got the attack. Supernatural Spear has 100 HP because it's stage 1, but it's also steel and water type, so kind of tanky. Weakness of fighting, again, same resistance 2 retreat cost because it's bigger now. And then next up, we have Illunormus. Illunormus is the final in this evolution line and is personally my favorite because it draws directly from one of the main alchemical goals of turning lead into gold. That, with its first attack, 1 steel, lead to gold, 20 damage. Discard as many steel energy from your hand as you like. For each card you discarded in this way, draw a card. This is a really great attack for decks like Terracera Ledge EX that want to have as many energy in the discard pile as possible, and it provides the bonus effect of drawing cards, which is amazing. Then Heavy Slam, 4 energy, 200 damage, but 40 less for each star in the defending Pokemon's retreat cost. That probably is about an average of 80 to 120 with today's meta, but I also don't play competitive TCG enough to know that for sure, or play standard enough, so that could be wrong. It could be higher or lower, but I would expect higher if anything. The same weakness, resistance, and a retreat cost of 3, because even though it is still liquid and is still a fish, it is ginormous. So big it gives Wailord a run for its money, is what the Pokédex entry is, at least as of now, and it has 180 HP to reflect that. Then Oedipup is the next Pokemon on our list today, and this is a great Pokemon, and its evolution is even better. But for now, let's look at Oedipup. Probably could have had less HP than 70 because it is just a normal type and it is just a little puppy, but 70 HP is fine, at least for this version of the card. If I were ever to do a version in the future, maybe it would be different, but for now. Oxygen provided this Pokemon can't be affected by special conditions and it takes 30 less damage from attacks by water Pokemon. I'm not 100% sure where either of those effects came from, but if I had to hazard a guess, spacesuits are designed to keep out whatever, so can't be affected by special conditions, and oxygen is a component in water, so maybe that's where I got the 30 less damage. But as for its attack, 2 of anything, like a launch, 10 damage. Search your deck for a Pokemon that evolves from this Pokemon and put it onto this Pokemon to evolve Oedipup. If this Pokemon has any fire energy attached to it, this attack does 40 more damage. The fire energy being like the fuel of a rocket, and the idea of Leica launch. Leica was the dog that this evolution line is based off of, that the Soviets launched into space in the 1900s during the space race to test how to make creatures survive. And while the original dog, Leica, didn't survive, this Pokemon instead becomes Cosmic type, and so it has no weakness, no resistance, because that's how I've been doing Cosmic type, if you didn't realize, with Nebulize. 120 HP, that seems fair, and also part of the reason why I'm thinking about lowering Oedipups for future versions. Heat-proofed, this Pokemon takes half the usual damage from fire Pokemon, rounded up. So that is coming from the fact that Leica or the heat is what would kill things in space without the heat shield tech, but this Pokemon developed to survive the heat and be able to thrive in space. So it gets the heat-proofed ability. Then Beetlejuice Bone, based off the little bone in the art that was in the video and is now on the card. 3 energy, 3 of anything, 20 damage. This attack does 40 more damage for each fire energy attached to this Pokemon, then shuffle all fire energy attached to this Pokemon into your deck. So, could be a high damage attack, but you're only really going to get one use out of it. Still, very cool Pokemon overall. And it has no retreat cost because it is just in space. It is an adorable little pupper. It does not need a retreat cost. Then next up, we have Spartation. This is a cool Pokemon mechanically in the game, and I tried to reflect that, but if I failed, that is definitely on me. It's a hard thing to mimic, but I feel like I got it decently spot on. 80 HP, it is a Steel and Fighting type, I believe, but Steel type is its primary type, so 80 HP. Ability is Warrior's Honor. When this Pokemon knocks out one of your opponent's Pokemon, search your deck for a Pokemon that evolves from this Pokemon, put it onto this card to evolve Spartation. Shuffle your deck afterwards. That is to reflect that you can only get its evolution in the actual game. You'll only be able to get it once you defeat all of the enemies in a Coliseum, which is something I definitely tried to mimic with this ability while still making it balanced. Then its only attack, 1 steel, 1 of anything, 50 damage, and it takes 30 less damage from attacks before weakness and resistance. Good attack, but nothing really to write home about, I wouldn't say. Weakness of fire, because steel is weak to fire, and then grass resistance, because steel resists both bug and grass, and fighting resists bug. 2 retreat cost, because you're in an arena, you probably aren't going to be retreating, but also it is a lobster. It does look like it would be able to retreat somewhat quickly, so that seemed like a balance between the two. Then its evolution is Colobster, 140 HP. It has pointed treading, 2 steel energy, 60 damage during your opponent's next turn. The defending Pokemon can't retreat. And then for 3 steel, 160 damage. This Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. This would be great for taking down higher HP stage 2s because you could, or even low HP EXs, because you could lock them up in the active spot with pointed treading and then use Lobster Lance on the next turn to deal enough damage for a knockout and then a prize card. Same weakness, same resistance, even same retreat cost, so not much else to cover for this card. Then Foldling. Foldling is a very amazing card. I definitely like this card a lot and the Pokemon behind it because it is a fairy flying type and is based off of a paper crane. And it is a very, very cool idea of like an origami or paper crane. Very neat little Pokemon. Its first attack, it has 50 HP. Paper is very fragile, so 50 HP. Wishing Winds, search your deck for a card and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck, switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. That ability, I believe, was originally supposed to say you may switch, but, it's whatever. I actually think I prefer this version now because a wind would definitely blow a paper crane away. Then paper dive for 2 of anything, 30 damage. Pokemon does 10 damage to itself. Weakness of steel because fairy is weak to steel, and resistance of grass because fairy resists bug and flying resists both grass and bug. So that's resistance of grass. Retreat cost of nothing because it is a paper crane. If it wanted to get out of there, it would just be blown away. So retreat cost of nothing. Its evolution, or Ravian, is also very cool. 90 HP, so a slight HP buff. Good fortune for 2 psychic energy. Search your deck for 2 cards and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. You do not have the option to switch, but you do a little damage and you get search for 1 extra card. And then Speedy Soaring for 3 of any. 70 damage. Flip a coin. If heads, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from the defending Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So, okay attacks all around. Maybe not the best card, but definitely one of the cooler ones. Same weakness, resistance, retreat cost as its pre-evolution, and that is all for Oravian. Next up, we have a really awesome Pokemon, Setamite. It is based off of RPGs, and while I have not done any D&D stuff yet on the channel, it is definitely something I enjoy doing just regularly, and that makes me love this Pokemon all the more. 60 HP, it is just a rock type, so its type is fighting. RPG registering, when you attach basic energy to this Pokemon, you may search your deck for a Pokemon of the same type that evolves from this Pokemon to evolve it. Then shuffle your deck. Very great ability because it allows for first turn evolution. However, none of its evolutions are able to attack with only 1 energy. So without energy acceleration, it isn't that crazy of an ability. Unspecialized attack, 10 damage for 1 of anything. Not a even great attack. It's rather middling, honestly. And then weakness of fighting because rock is weak to fighting and ground. And resistance of normal or colorless. It's normal type though, because normal and flying are both resisted by rock, and that's what that covers. Retreat cost of 2. It's just a little rock, dude. That seems fair. And that's kind of a good base, I guess, to work from. Because then you have Palamber, the first of Setamite's many evolutionary options. 130 HP because Paladins are absolute tanks, and heavily armored, 50 less damage from attacks before applying weakness and resistance because Paladins also just are so crazy armored. Amber Hammer 150 damage for 2 fire and 1 of anything. This Pokemon can't use Amber Hammer. Amber Hammer. That's the second time I've said it wrong. Forgive me for that, please. Do not criticize in the comments. But Amber Hammer during your next turn. So it could still use a TM if you just use Amber Hammer, which is really nice because you could use something like Turbo Energize, or I believe it's TM Evolution, which are both great options for when you have a Pokemon like this that can't attack 2 turns in a row. Then weakness of fighting, because it is fire rock type, it is quad weak to ground, neutral to rock, and weak to fighting, so weakness to fighting felt fine. Resistance to fire, because it would quad resist fire. Then retreat cost of 3, because paladins do not do retreating. And yeah, they're the frontline dude. They will do whatever. They're absolute tanks. They will mow through everything. Then M-Rogue is the second of the options based on rogues, so I gave it a nice little switching fast movement ability. If this Pokemon is on your bench once during your turn, you may switch this Pokemon with your active Pokemon, so you can just instantly jump into the action if you want to. Emerald Edge for 2 grass, 1 of anything, 60 damage, flip 2 coins, this attack does 30 more damage for each head, so a damage ceiling of 120, a damage minimum of 60, so you could potentially have a better attacker with Emerald than Palamber, but it's not guaranteed. Weakness of steel, because rock is weak to steel, and I couldn't really think of any better, because while it is weak to fighting, it now quad resists rock, I believe, and it is neutral to ground. So steel is better because grass does not resist steel and rock is weak to it. And resistance of electric, because it would resist electric. Just grass resists electric. Retreat costs them nothing because rogues are fast. Then next up we have Safstone. Safstone's great, 100 HP. It's based on mages, so I would assume like wizard, sorcerer, that type of class. Sparkly Sea, 50 damage for 2 water. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Lots of attacks like this exists, nothing new, but it is an okay attack. It's really good attack though is Sapphire Splash. For 3 water, this attack does 40 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon, but you apply weakness and resistance for bench Pokemon. That one little detail at the end there can be huge if you're playing against a fire deck, let's say. There might be other Pokemon that are weak to water in the card game, but I believe it's only fire type. Other than the custom Pokemon cards I make here, whose type weakness and resistance actually make a little bit more sense than normal. Weakness of water, because not water, weakness of electric, because it would be weak to electric. Water is weak to it. And then resistance of fire, because again, it would quad resist fire, water, rock. And retreat cost of 1, because they are normally backline anyway, so they don't have that far to retreat, even if they're not fast. So retreat cost of 1. Then Quarriest is the next one based on the cleric or priest classes. It has the highest HP because it's the healing person. It's very tanky. It's known for its HP stat, it says. Its ability, Quartz Quenching. Once during your turn, when you attach a special energy to one of your Pokemon, you may heal 100 damage from that Pokemon. You may only use 1 Quartz Quenching ability per turn. This is a crazy ability, especially in decks that like to run special energy, but I don't know, maybe there are ways to get around it that are easier than I'm thinking, but it does just seem like an all-around broken ability. You may only use it once per turn for this reason. No matter how many quarries you have in play. Then Quick Quartz, 2 Psychic, 1 of any, 60 damage and heal 30 from one of your Pokemon. So if you really felt like it, you could probably get 130 damage of healing on one of your Pokemon if you really needed to. But I get the feeling that wouldn't be used in combination very often because healing 100 damage is kind of crazy in and of itself. Weakness of Steel, because both Rock and Fairy, which it is Fairy type, Rock and Fairy are weak to Steel. And then Resistance of Dark, because Rock resists Poison, which is sometimes a dark, which Poison type cards are sometimes dark. And then Fairy resists Dark. So that is that. Retreat cost of 2, which is the average I used for Setamite because can be frontline, can be backline, doesn't really matter. They're kind of good either way in RPGs, and that's what I base the retreat cost off of. Then next up is a Samethyst, which very, very cool card. I do not think there are normally assassin classes. Normally they're just subclasses of rogues or something like that, but an assassin card is not something I am going to complain about. An assassin Pokemon, I mean. 110 HP, assassins don't have to be tanky. They just kind of do their work from the shadows. They don't have to be super strong or anything. They just use smarts or whatever they need to make their target. Assassin tricks, if this Pokemon is in the active spot and remains there after your opponent's turn, you may choose to make your opponent's active Pokemon poisoned. So that basically just ensures that if they don't boss's orders you, they are becoming poisoned, which is a very nice ability to deal some chip damage. Then Amethyst Ambush, it's 1 attack for 3 dark, 100 damage, which is pretty okay by itself. But if this Pokemon moved from your bench to your active spot during this turn, this attack does 90 more damage. That makes it an 190 damage attack if you play it right, and especially if you had a way to just switch between to a Samethyst, it could become a very, very lethal combination. Then weakness of Grass, because Rock resists Bug, but is weak to Grass, and then Dark is weak to Bug, so it's neutral to Bug overall, but is weak to Grass. Resistance of Psychic, because Dark resists Psychic. Dark is immune to Psychic, resists Ghost, and when Poison cards are Psychic, Rock still resists Poison, so resistance of Psychic. Retreat cost of 1. Assassins aren't supposed to be seen. They're supposed to do their job, get out without being seen, so no need to retreat. But it's done quickly. Then next up, Topard, which is my all-time favorite of Setamite's evolutions, both the card and the actual one, because I love bards, and Topaz is a very neat-looking gem. It has 110 HP. Bards are backline. They do normally have higher HP, but they're backline, so whatever. Then Defender Sturge, your evolution Pokemon take 20 less damage from attacks for each prize card your opponent has taken. At 1 prize card remaining for your opponent, this becomes 100 damage, which is very high, and it's a blanketing effect, which is why you cannot apply more than 1 Defender Sturge at once. Topaz Thundering, its attack is 2 lightning or electric, 1 of anything, to do 30 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Not bad, not great. Like, not bad, not great, just kind of in the middle. So, it's not meant to be an attacker. It's meant to be used for Defender Sturge. Then weakness of Fighting, because it would be weak to fighting, it would be quad weak to ground, and yeah. Then resistance of Normal, because it would quad resist flying in the games, and it would resist normal. So resistance of Normal. Then 2 retreat costs because, again, backline, it's kind of the average that I've been using because they can be attackers. They're meant to be backline, but whatever. Then finally, the last one we have, Nephmancer, which is, I had to do a little bit of research for this card to figure out what Nephrite is. Apparently it's Jade, like special kind or quality of Jade. So that was interesting and just a little fun tidbit of information. But moving on to the card, 120 HP. It is Ghost and Dark type. No, Ghost and Rock type. I don't know why I said Dark, but it is Ghost and Rock type. March of the Monstrous, 2 Psychic, 1 of any. This attack does 30 damage for each Psychic and Dark Pokemon in your discard pile. Kind of the idea of using an army of undead to attack. And then Nephrite New Life is 2 Psychic, 1 of any, to bring a Pokemon, a basic Pokemon from your discard pile back into play on your bench. Kind of the idea of raising the dead. So very overall cool card. I don't know if it's great, but it is definitely a cool card and a cool idea. Then Weakness of Dark, because Dark Ghost is weak to Dark, and Resistance of Normal because it would be immune to normal and resists flying. So that's that. And then backline, very far backline, so a retreat cost of 2 because it is a mage, but is like very far in the back. It's commanding its army to attack, not itself. So very interesting Pokemon overall. And then finally, I have my own little promo card here posted on my page, and I will just leave this posted so that whoever goes through my page on pokecardmaker.net can find my channel. And if anybody finds my channel through this, leave a comment on the video that you first watch and say, hey, I was sent here by pokecardmaker.net, your card on there. And yeah, so this is just my little promo card, and I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like, subscribe to me, and also go check out Pokédexlars, because of course he's the one who comes up with all of these ideas. I just turn them into cards, and I think you would definitely appreciate it if you went and checked out his channel and gave him a subscribe and a like, and comment what your favorite card was in this video. Comment that. And I will see you in the next video, which hopefully will go up quite soon because it's been a bit long since I uploaded, and I'm hoping to not have so much of a gap on these videos because it's a little bit bad how much of a gap I've been having between videos, because I believe it's been 3 weeks since I posted. So I will try to be a little bit more consistent with uploading, but until the next video, that is all I have. See you in the next one.